All right, we're back with the second game of Akiyama versus Reay. Let's see what's going to happen. I missed the first card being picked up, but we'll still be able to see the starter that Akiyama played. Now, Akiyama, of course, always plays very quickly, but I immediately saw this starter and was like, how many recaptures does he have? Like, I know this is like getting very stereotyped in my videos, but I often think like it's hard to have a supported starter. And I started thinking, okay, so if I just take that from two, let's not figure out which card yet, but just say I take it from two, 6186 and 4, I can combo back with 4882 and 7. So you have to take back with 7744 if you're going to take back. Can I combo that from 7? No, but maybe I can set up something from 2, right? Maybe I can flip from 2 in a way that sets up against that. Okay, 3378 does not set up against it. 7437, does that set up against 7744? No. How about 5718? No, that doesn't either. But do I even need to, right? Like, say I play 3378 and you go in 4 and I just go in 3, am I safe? Well, no. When you go in 4 with 7744, you set up 6186 to go in 5. Don't quite see it. But weirdly, while I was really excited about capturing, I didn't consider capturing from 2 at all, or from 4 at all. I considered capturing from 2 and forcing them to retake from 4, and Reay just captures in 4, which is the much more logical way to do it. There's only one recapture from 2. There is much less to check. And fundamentally, if Akiyama commits to that recapture from 2, that 8 facing down is really hard to recapture. And this 7484 is just incredibly awkward for Akiyama. This is explicitly saying, you have no left power. This is very dangerous. And I think this is very dangerous. We'll look with the solver after because I have not checked this game. And I remember it happening a little while ago. Obviously all these videos come out kind of after the fact. But I think there's sort of a really interesting theological question here. The game is directed poorly, and you're probably coming out of this down a card, right? It's hard to retake. If you do retake, they're going to have these two safe cards with big numbers facing down you can't take. It's tough going in the direction of the game. What is your best hope of survival? Is it A, say, okay, I gotta lock in a card where I can. I'm just gonna play 6186 and 2. That locks in a card. I'll work from there, but I gotta get that card. I gotta get something on the board. I can't have huge directional weaknesses and have. It's saying I'm being really loud. And have no play against the action. I can't do it. Gotta play in 2. That's case number 1. Case number 2. I do have to take safety where I can, but I got to keep my 6186. I got to go in 7. I got to try to take safety in 7. I got to, this is a principle I've talked about a bit where if I'm on first turn and behind 6-4 and there's a line of cards and I have one safe and they have two vulnerable, that's usually a pretty balanced position. Here it's going to be worse than balanced because I have so few threats against their cards because my cards are so clunky at taking. But okay, I'll take the safety I can get. I'll play 5, 8, 6, 4, and 7. I think that's idea number 2. Idea number 3 is I have to create dynamics here, right? I have to create play against them. I gotta play 6, 1, 8, 6, and 8. It is, I think, the only move that sets up a serious threat in 8. It sets up a serious threat saming in 5, going in 8 to set up 5. We got to do something that creates some danger for them in the position, some kind of combo. They won't want to go 5 because then we can go 7. They don't want to go 7 because we have a same in 5. At least we have something there. We have some play there. So that's I think of that as like the aggressive I'm setting up combo plays. I think of 7 as the defensive, okay, I see safety, I'll just take the safety and figure out how to attack stuff later. I think the move in 2 is well, in a tough position, the move that has the best shot at working is the conventional plan. So I think we got conventional, defensive, aggressive. Now, aggressive might also make us think about 6, because that could also set up combo play in 5. And maybe I'm missing something, but I just don't think there looks like there's anything there. And then the fourth thesis here, I think, is just, okay, any kind of interaction I have with the board is bad. I've just got to go far away and start setting up something I can interact with. So maybe something like 3, 6, 8, 5, and 9, just saying, I can take this back, I can do it comfortably. There is something on the board I can interact well with here. I think it's a really interesting question which of these four kind of beliefs is correct. Obviously, it's going to depend on the exact position, but calculating with 7 moves left is simply you are never going to do a full game calculation of everything, no matter how good you are. You start multiplying out the number of moves left, you're not going to check everything. What you can check is a few narrow lines and trust intuition and trust that the narrow lines you're finding are the critically important ones. There are games where I've, from the start of the game, calculated out the rest of the game correctly, but it's not that I calculated everything, it's that I calculated one or two or maybe three really critical variations, and one of those happened to be played, and I did get it right. But you can find narrow long paths or you can find wide short paths, but you cannot calculate wide long paths. Not to spend too long on this math, but the final turn of the game, there is one possible move, right? So one is one. The second to last turn of the game, there are four possible moves. So to calculate at that point, you have to calculate 4 times 1, because each of them have one continuation. So 2 moves left, there's 4 lines to calculate, 4 sequences. With 3 moves left, there are 6 possible moves. And so we have, and each of those 6 will have 4 lines after it, so that's 24 moves total. This is starting to get to where, 24 moves takes a bit of time to calculate, right? With 4 moves left, you got to multiply that 24 by 8, because there's 4 squares and you have 3 cards left. So by 12. And 24 times 12, this is when it starts to be the case that, like, you can calculate everything in, 5 or 7 or 9 minutes, but it's going to be really hard. And with 5 moves left, I think is basically the end of what most humans can do everything, do a complete calculation. 5 moves left is about the limit. And because it's multiplying by more and more each time, 7 moves is just so far beyond what we can do. So you gotta rely on other things to play this thing well. Calculating really well helps, but being able to find the right line to calculate is more important. And so I do think we're not going to perfectly calculate this as humans. So what's the best move? I don't know. Again, I want to check with the solver after. My instinct is defensive. My instinct is you go 7. And I think we can see, I want to make the case for 7. 2 is what we'll see in the game, the conventional move. And I often like conventional moves. But we'll be able to talk about that more as the game continues. 8, the idea of 6, 1, 8, 6, and 8, I think, like, feels good, but I think it doesn't work because I think it's too costly to give up the 6, 1, 8, 6. Because we don't actually have a threat in 7, and we no longer have a threat in 2. So my theory is if we go 6, 1, 8, 6, and 8, they can just block 5, and I'm not sure what we're doing after that. I think we probably have to occupy 7. That seems too dangerous to leave open. But they block 5, they then go in 2. We're down 6-4, we have no left. There are some lines where the whole left side gets blocked up. And 6, 1, 8, 6 sweeps at the end, but that's out of our hand. I think 8 doesn't work because I think giving up our threat in 2 to create a threat in 5, the problem is they now can block the threat in 5, and we don't have a threat in 2. So I think the aggressive option, there's just not enough punch. Having one good square, I don't think is enough here. The distant move, really hard to get a feel for. Something like 3, 6, 8, 5, and 9. But I think probably the case is you just have no left. So if I play something like 5, 7, 1, 8, and 7, just take more safety, it's still so hard for you to attack anything. Seems really tough. Maybe that holds. I think that might actually be one of the better chances here. But I think fundamentally, I don't believe the conventional move works here. I think you're down too many cards and have too much trouble attacking the remaining cards on board. I think the aggressive move does not work because your only way to set up threats is to give up your only card that currently has threats. And if you can never make more than one threat at a time, your opponent can always just block that one threat. I think the distant move is probably a decent try, but it's so difficult to evaluate. My guess is 3, 6, 8, 5, and 9 is the best of them, but it's really tough to say. 3685 is one of the only cards besides 6186 that has potential in 5. Maybe you need to hold on to that. It's a very difficult move to make. But I think 5864 and 7 achieve something tangible, right? It says I do have a safe card on board. Now, it's really hard to go in 5 after, because either of the cards you'd want to put in 5 have an 8 facing down, but maybe you don't have to. Maybe if they go in 2, you can just take safety in 3, right? Maybe you can just about. It seems to me that you should be able to grab just enough safety there, you might have a chance to hold. It's also possible if the left part of the board fills up, 6186 is just going to sweep the endgame. There's so many spots where it's going to get extra captures in that endgame. So I think 5864 and 7 is the best move. And I hope my case for that is clear, but I also think this is a really difficult position, but that makes it a really interesting one to me. And I do think there's situations where each of those four kind of beliefs of how to play these systems can be right. This is the kind of move I think Crescent is good at finding. Delial is obnoxiously good at finding it, but he's obnoxiously good at finding everything. Yeah, I don't think 8 works. We'll see in the game. I don't believe in 2. 9 is interesting, but I'm skeptical. But I'm skeptical of everything. It's a really tough position. You have no left. Um, so Akiyama goes in 2, and I think Reay does the very smart thing here. Grab the card in 2 with a safe card itself, Reay takes from 3. Takes some time to do so, but takes from 3. And this creates a whole new problem for Akiyama. Not only are the cards in 2 or 3 safe, but you can't attack the card in 4. If you play 3, 6, 8, 5, and 5, I somehow haven't mentioned this till now, 4882 not only recaptures in 7, but combos through to capture the card in 1. So you can't touch 5. Um, if you take safety in 7 now, I think we're too far behind. We've conceded too many extra cards. I think 5864 and 7 is met by 4882 and 5, and you can't. What can you touch? Like, it's really tough. So I think Akiyama here does what you should do. Sometimes you have a big setup, sometimes you have something else. We saw a similar, somewhat difficult position for Akiyama to play, where he found a move away from the action against Reay in the previous game when he had a tough position. And here, again, I think he does a nice job of complicating away from the action. But in that game, he found one of very few ties. And in this one, my guess is this is lost. I don't see 7 working at this point. 5 is suicidal. 6, you're just like helping your opponent lock in cards. You can't create a threat in 8 anymore. Maybe you should try to land 3, 6, 8, 5, and 8. Maybe you play, in 5. Maybe you play, because right now the problem with 3, 6, 8, 5, and 5 is that 7 combos you back. So maybe you go in 8 trying to induce 7 so then you can land 3, 6, 8, 5, and 5. But no, if you go 8, they just go 5 with like 4882. They can't play 4882. 5864 is play against that. Okay, so with 5718 and you have nothing in 7 or 6. Yeah. I think this is lost, and I think Akiyama made the best choice in a tough position to now play the distant move in 9 that keeps it complicated. And this specifically does create play against a bunch of things that would be desirable for Reay to do. Reay would love to just go in 6 and start locking in his own cards. But 5718 and 6 is covered by 5864, and 7437 and 6 is covered by 7744. So I think, again, I've said this before. I think I was saying it with the Triad Wars 14 semifinals between Akiyama and Seto. that Akiyama has a wonderful feel for which cards will have combo potential late. And I remember Reay sending a message being like, it's so annoying that 6 just doesn't work here. And 6 doesn't work here. Now, I think 7 does, right? Because those 4s to the left just can't do anything. So I think you could play not 4882 because that gives up a plus an 8, but probably either of the other cards in 7. Probably. The last 2 videos I made, I spent too much time trying to calculate things and not doing a great job. So I'm just going to say those probably work, and you can check in more depth if you want. But the move I found that I thought was winning is the move Reay ended up playing, and we will see if it's winning. It is. Go me. 5, 7, 1, 8, and 5. Just blocking the square where you have combo troubles. Now you do threaten to go in 6 and can lock in stuff, and 6 is just a completely dead square for Akiyama. Akiyama made 6 a bad square because of 5, so you just block 5, and now 6 is a good square. And yeah, from Akiyama's starter, his cards never had any play. It is possible he was lost after the starter. Um, if there is a tie, my bet, as I said, is on 7, is on the defensive option, but I really don't know. Yeah, cards are all dead here. There's not too much to say. Let's see. Probably all went by in one fell swoop. Yeah, it did. All right, what probably happened? Akiyama probably played in 6. Reay captures back in 8, and Akiyama has 1 capture at the end to lose 6-4. An interesting game, and also it's been really interesting to see Rayaminator's return, because I have had him ranked, as some people may have noticed, very high on my all-time lists. You know, not top 10, not top 20, but in a group with players like Jadat, and before he won a tournament, Tezuka and Grat, and players of that caliber, I had Rayaminator right there with them. And I always thought this was a pretty aggressive hot take, because those players are kind of legends of the game, and Raminator came later and doesn't have a title or anything like that. Um, and no one ever pushed back on me on it, so maybe people don't think that's actually a hot take. Maybe everyone left understands he's really, really good. But it's been really impressive to see what he's done in the return. Um, Specifically, having missed much of it and come in late and come back to basically finish top 2 in like every event. And I think this is his first time playing Akiyama in an event. I think basically in weekly opens, Reay lost to Flair in the first one he played, and then has only lost to Delhi since. Is that right? That might be right. That might be wrong, but it might be right that he's just basically only lost to Delhi since then, which is pretty remarkable. And when you see him beating absolutely top flight players like Akiyama, yeah, it's a remarkable run, and it'll be fun to see what Reay can do in an official tournament, because he's looking like he's playing some of the best triple triad on the site right now, regardless of format. So, exciting times. This video, I'm recording it sometime in May. Uh, at the point I'm recording it, there's a very good chance he wins my May Player of the Month. It will come out in June, but yeah.